All right, so we're here today to pay tribute to some good late friends of ours, and we're thankful that you can join us as we pay tribute of sorts to E C and Orna Ball, old-time musicians, singers, and husband and wife who played music in a lot of different places and lived here in Southwest Virginia. So introductions all around. We got Herb Key over here on bass from Wilkes County, and of course Wayne Henderson and on guitar, and we have Karen, my wife, doing some vocals, singing some alto in memory of Orna. And yours truly, Michael Kurtz, and Bob Calhoun, thank you for being our technician today. We appreciate it. So, Wayne, before we start, I'd just like you to share with us a little bit about how you were related to E C and Orna, how you knew them.
Well, I knew E C as far back as I can remember. You know, we lived right here in this community, and Orna was my mom's cousin. So it was a little bit of kin like that, right. And E.C. was a hero as far as the guitar thing. He played a thumb style guitar, and I've always tried to play like that. And this old guitar that belonged to him was an inspiration for me to make guitars, because he'd let me draw a pattern around it, and I started trying to make guitars from that guitar, and mainly one real bad and couldn't afford to buy one, a Martin, you know. And so that got me started making guitars, and E.C. did a little bit of guitar work himself. You know,
I heard you talk about it one time when he used some of Orna's buttons, pearl buttons.
Pearl buttons to put the extra inlays. The guitar you have is a copy of this old guitar like it was when E.C. played it. And this is the actual guitar, but it's had some restoration work done, you know, since he had it and before I had it.
And we want to talk in a little while about that story, how you reclaimed it.
Yeah.
So Orna was she was a Reedy, is that right? So your mama was a Reedy?
Yeah, they were first cousins.
Okay.
And her mom and I don't know exactly her. I guess it was her dad and my grandpa were brothers.
Okay. Well,
I believe that's the way it was.
And quite an impact, of course, E.C. had, as you say, on your playing, even certainly today.
Oh, yeah.
So why don't we do a couple songs that he wrote? He not only played it, he wrote it. So Plain Old Country Boy.
Okay.
Well, I was raised on beans, taters, and black-eyed peas, and green tomatoes, cornbread, and buttermilk we had. We worked hard, didn't have much money, and I had nobody to call me honey. I was just plain old country lad. I started school to give me some learning, and the seat of my britches is still burning. That's the very first lesson that I had. Started learning reading and writing, and throwing table walks, fussing and fighting. I was just plain old country lad. Well, I put a snake in the teacher's desk. She jumped up and Lord the rest. I wish you'd look at what somebody's done. She started running us kids behind her, and nobody's yet been able to find her. I bet she passed the place where she came from. You don't have time for courting and a marrying. He said those feelings made me alone. Oh, I never was much on riding and rolling, but I found my daddy wasn't so good. From that day on, I've been kinda on my own. Well, I was raised on beans and taters, black-eyed peas and green tomatoes, cornbread and buttermilk we had. Didn't have much money, and I had nobody to call me honey. I was just plain old country lad. Take that last line. For I was just plain old country lad. All right, and another one he wrote, Early Bird Always Gets the Worm, and I think you lead off on this one.
Well, let's see if I can remember.
gonna turn. I'm either late or I'm way behind. Never get nowhere on time. Early bird always gets the worm. Went to see my gal the other night. That old moon was really shining bright. She was sitting there with another man, and you ought to see them holding hands. Early bird always gets the worm. Home for this awful war. My gal said she'd wait even swore. Then no one else can keep my time. She up and married a guy from Carolina. Early bird always gets the worm. When the tide is gonna turn, I'm either late or I'm way behind. Never get nowhere on time. Early bird always gets the worm.
Forgotten how to start that off.
He came around good, and
I wasn't quite with you.
well, you know, I was just going full
I didn't
confession.
know whether to start, just do a tag to start, or play a break.
It worked. It all works. And the wash comes out in the wash. Of course, you know, I was going to full disclosure to folks. We've not played together. Well, we were at WKSK for 45 minutes playing. Karen wasn't with us.
But that's been how long?
Oh, that's been 2-3 years ago at least, hasn't it?
At least.
Yeah. And I was going to say, even though we never played together, at least 2 of us are sick. So there you go. So now we just experienced EC not only played guitar, but he also wrote a number of songs, which we just heard, and we'll hear more hopefully. He composed secular and sacred, a great variety. He did the lyrics, he did the music. Wayne, songs like When I Get Home, I'm Going to Be Satisfied, and Trials, Troubles, and Tribulations.
Yeah.
Hey, about that song, that was at Corinth Baptist. You told me a while back about that. What was that song written
About
about?
Tribulation?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he said he was, he'd been, I think he'd been, you know, they'd go out and play at revivals and stuff. He'd been the one that said the preacher preached about Revelations and stuff, and got him thinking about that, and said he went home and wrote this song, and that's mainly all what I know about it.
Right.
And,
And that was at local here in Rugby at Corinth Baptist Church, I believe.
I think so.
Okay.
He might have, that's where he was mainly going, but he might have, it almost seemed like he might have gone off somewhere to away where there's having a revival in some other place.
Okay.
And then maybe come back here.
But it obviously made a big impact on his life. And he wrote this song, and it's done real well, of course. Now, when EC wrote and played various types, and he'd go different places through his years, but it seemed in the latter years, he was more the sacred and gospel.
Yeah.
And what do you attribute that? Would you agree to Orna's influence?
I'm pretty sure. I think so.
Yeah.
She, you know,
A woman settles us down.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So she had that, probably that influence, and they did more of the gospel than you.
And for a while there, they just didn't do much anything else. I would have to talk EC into playing a guitar tune for me sometimes. You know, it certainly didn't play out in public, you know,
Uh-huh.
nothing except
Okay.
gospel music.
I see. Okay.
And
Well, you know, arguably, as great as his composing was, and it was, his style of picking, just so unique and wonderful. We're going to share some of that a little bit, but what you at one time said compared to Chet Atkins and Merle Travis, that style?
oh yeah, it was. That he played a thumb picking, and Chet and Merle, when they would,
Yeah.
they dampened with their hand
Uh-huh.
down here. EC would do it with this hand, a little bit different,
Okay.
an unusual thing. That he played like that, and a lot of his picking style made it a little bit different from hers, but similar, you know.
Yeah. So you learned obviously your style in a great way, a big part from EC.
Yeah,
And
for
I
sure.
believe it was at the store, at Rugby store maybe, where he was running it.
Yeah.
And you would be there as a little boy. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that's the first time I ever got to play this old guitar and stuff, you know, and he would put a nail keg out in the store. The store still stands out here at the end of the road, the building does. And they don't use it for anything, but it's just the building.
That's in Rugby, for who don't know, at Tucker Road at the intersection.
Downtown Rugby, the little green sign that says Rugby's right there.
Right.
And he would, he'd get a nail keg, put it way out in the middle of the floor where I couldn't hit anything, you know,
Oh, mess up his guitar.
mess up his
Yeah.
guitar. He was
Yeah.
particular with this guitar, you know,
Sure.
as his most prized possession.
Yeah.
And he'd watch, you know, real close, but he'd let me play this thing. I did a chord on it and just be marveled at how good it sounded. It's so much better than anything I had, you know. And that is my first experience of playing this guitar, being amazed at it, and made me want one so bad, you know. And he was an influence like that, and playing, you know. And way years ago, before all that, you know, he played some with my dad in a string band, and they had a band called the Rugby Gully Jumpers.
Okay.
And that was like old time music. They had my dad played fiddle, and Orna's other brother Wade played the banjo.
Okay.
Played the banjo, and they
Yeah.
had sort of that string band.
And they did quite well. Won some awards at Galax, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. I still have a ribbon in here where they won some.
Nice. Well, so why don't we do a little example, one of EC's songs of picking and showing you that style that you'll be picking. That'd be Chow Time.
Okay. He told me he'd been, you know, messing with this tune, you know, trying to put together something on the guitar, and he said, you know, it got to be supper, you know, and said Orna come out and said it's chow time, and you know, that meant it's time to come
Right.
eat supper, and,
Yep.
and so he said he called that tune chow time.
keeping this EC tradition alive with that finger picking, Wayne. That's
Well,
good.
cool,
That is cool. That's good.
That's exciting to me to do, and EC was definitely a hero and one of my favorite guitar players.
And he was ahead of his time in some way, wouldn't you
I'm
say?
sure.
And you've given me, I know, a couple examples as we've talked before about. One of them was bar chords, and he was
Yeah.
utilizing bar chords a lot.
Yeah, I've never had learned that, but EC, well, you know, he's a big fella.
Oh man, big hands.
He has big hands, and when he'd get a bar chord, most people get a bar chord that looks like that.
Right.
Looks like that
Yeah,
right
yeah.
there. And when he would grab it, his finger would stick that much above his guitar neck.
Yeah.
It may be just the way he got them too, you know. But I remember, I don't know how in the world these fingers would wrap that far around the guitar.
Almost like a capo in his
Yeah.
hands there, you know. And speaking of that, of course, the capo, for those who may not be familiar, used to change the key on a neck, and he used a capo. Now, of course, at first, I guess they used a pencil with a rubber band.
Oh yeah.
Now, there was a story you related, if you can remember and share. It was a funny story to me about a capo story.
Yeah, it was. There was a EC told me about an old man that lived, I think, over in the Low Gap area over there that played fiddle. His name, I think, is
Burl Grubbs, what
yeah.
you told me.
That was the fellow that had Clint Sage was the guy that played the fiddle, but Burl Grubb was a fellow that lived out at Troutdale that gave him a capo, and Clint played an F chord, you know, a lot, and like the fiddlers do. A lot of those old fiddle tunes are written in F. And he said that just killed your hand. It still does, you know, to play an F. And that Burl guy told him, said you put that capo right here on the 3rd fret, and you can play a D chord, and it'll be the same thing. And sure enough, it was, you know. And he was so proud of that. That's good. And said the first thing he did, he went over to Clint Sage, used to play music with him, and said he put that capo on there, and said sure enough he took off the first tune in F, you know. Said he's just playing away there. He's playing in D, which is easy to play in. And said the old man kept looking over at him, you know, and looked the whole tune, you know, and said after a while, he said, "What is that thing there?" and EC told him, said it's a capo. Said I can capo down there and not have to play an F chord. And he said, "Let me see that thing." And said he got it, and said he looked at it real good, and said the cornfields are down below the yard, high as your head. And said he ran back and threw that thing as far as he could, right down in the middle of that corner. He said, "Don't let me catch you with another one of these so-and-so kind of things, you know." and he didn't like it at all, you know. That was the end of EC's capo.
Capo, all right. Yeah. Yeah, I think he threw a little French language in there.
Yeah, I think he did.
You were censoring it here a little bit. Okay. Yeah. Well, one of the things that I remember, E C and Orna had a radio show, as some of us remember, at WKSK. They sing at other radio stations, but they had a Saturday morning, I think 11 o'clock, the time the Gary Shopo's on now, and they had their WKSK show, and then they would start it off each time, at least as long as I remember, with when the Saints go marching in. So why don't we give that a whirl?
Oh. I think I remember the kickoff on that.
You kick off? Okay. When the Saints go marching in, when the Saints go marching in, oh Lord, I want to be in that number. When the Saints go marching in. That number when the sun refuses to shine. Sorry about my voice. Mucinex gave out there. Herb, you and I are struggling together.
Well, it's the time of year.
It is, that's right. So I thought I'd share just a moment or two, if I may, about my experience with Orna and Estil and how I first got to know them. My daddy was a mountain doctor up in these parts, had a practice in Lansing, North Carolina, the big city, salute. And Dad had a Christmas party one year with the staff at Greenfield Restaurant. Now, some of you may know out in West Jefferson.
Yeah.
And a staff Christmas party, and Orna and Elsie were some of his patients, and he knew they had this gift of music, so they came to Greenfield to do the program, so to speak, for that evening. And I was coming home from college to get ready to teach where our friend Bob taught at the time at Northwest High School, and so that was Christmas vacation. And Dad said, Pop we call him, he said, how about bringing your guitar? We got Orna and EC, sorry, I slipped there because that's, Elsie was a sister to Orna. Yeah. And so I brought my guitar and they were kind and gracious and let me play along a few tunes. And then afterwards EC motioned to me and I came over, he said, how about coming up to the radio station Saturday morning? I thought, wow, as a 22-year-old, they're going to let me come and play with them. And so I played guitar and sang a few backup vocals with them, and it took for about 6 months. And then, sadly, we lost EC, and I believe that was 1978, if I have my dates right, Wayne.
Yeah.
And I believe he was 64 years of age. So a relatively young man, yeah, with a whole lot of future we thought ahead, but just didn't work out that way. Yeah. How did you learn the day he died or soon after? How did you learn about that?
Well, I was the local mail carrier here, and I worried about EC. He was not in great health. He had, I think, heart problems, or not as much as that I knew about. But he seemed like he had all sorts of stuff wrong with him, the gallbladder and stuff like that. And I drove him to the doctor a time or two, when he'd have to go to Winston, to get something done like that. And I knew about him being in not great health and sort of worried about him some, but never would have thought about, him just ending up. And one day I was running my mail route right at the end of the road out here. I come out through here, and there was this old country store right out here. A fellow named Roy Kilby ran that store at the time. And he would come out and get his mail most of the time. I'd just pull up in front of the store, and he'd come out, and I'd give him his mail for the store there. Stuff, and he'd come out and said, "It's bad about old Estil, wasn't it?" And I said, "What? What about Estil? I never heard." And he said, "Well, he died this morning." Said they found him in his car up on the Quillen Ridge Road there. That devastated me, And I still had to run the rest of my mail route the rest of the day, Yeah. But that was a pretty miserable day, to say the least, with all that. So that's how I found out about it. Just the local fella that ran the store come out and told me I give him his mail, and so that's how I found out about EC passing on. And so that was a terrible time, and he had gotten at that time to hanging out more in the shop to get stuff. He would do projects. He inlaid his guitar, this one just like that himself to start with first. So he messed with them quite a bit, and he'd do. And sometimes he's, getting older and stuff. Actually, he wasn't older, compared to now. We're all, me especially anyway, and her, way older than he was when he passed on. But it seemed like he would get in a mess every once in a while. And I could always fix what he was working on if he got where he thought he had too much stuff to do.
And he was, as we alluded to, he was sort of at the prime of his life in music right then, and who knows, could have done a lot more. And I know when I was with him for that 6 or 7 months, I was able to drive them some. Yeah. And there were several places. We went to the Eno Festival in Durham, went over to Kentucky to a festival. He would go up to Brandywine some. He liked to go up there. So
I think he was getting known enough in the folk music line, sort of like Doc Watson was, and of course Doc went on forever and played everywhere. But I believe EC would have ended up being a whole lot more well known, and if he could have kept going on for a while, because he was just beginning to get to play good festivals and stuff. People were discovering him, and And I'm pretty sure if he'd have lived on for more years, he would have gotten to be pretty famous and known more over the country, you know, instead of more than right here in the community.
It makes sense, and another reason why I'm glad, thank you, that we're doing this tribute to them, to keep that legacy somewhat alive, I hope, and you are through your playing. Of course, one of the songs that they recorded, I believe, is "What a Friend We Have in Jesus." Yeah. So some more there. This would be their gospel style. So why don't we give that a whirl? Are you going to do an intro on this one?
Yeah, I did. EC showed me how to play this one time. Not that I can remember everything just exactly now, you know, but I remember he played it in E chord, and we'll give it a try.
What a friend we have in Jesus, all our sins and griefs to bear. What a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. Oh, what peace we often forfeit. Oh, what needless pain we bear. EC on that. Well, EC stand for Estil Cortez. That's not your normal Appalachian rugby name.
No, it's not.
Do you know the history of that?
I don't know anything at all about that, I don't think.
Well, okay.
It might have been during the time when that Mexican fella down there was stirring up a fuss and being in the news, you know.
Yeah.
It might have.
Who knows?
Might have been about that time.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah.
Do you know who taught EC how to play?
No, I sure don't. That's a I think he developed most of that stuff himself.
Just picked it up.
That he might have been around that Burl Grubb fella a little bit. He was a guitar player. And there was a fella lived over at Grassy Creek named Doc Miller. I've heard him talk about hearing him play and stuff. But I think he developed most of that style and playing pretty much himself, I think.
I'd like to talk a little bit, transition a little bit about making guitars. You and Herb know something about that. You're both luthiers, and I admire that and respect that. And this guitar here, of course, is a replica of E C Ball. In fact, when you and I discussed this, we put the initials ECB here for E C Ball, and I'm honored to have that. Wayne, of course, many people know about his guitar making. There's even a book out. I've read it. It's Eric Clapton's Guitar, I believe.
Yeah.
And so that's a great read. And so I know I had to wait my turn in line. I don't think it hurt that I knew E C and Orna, but it was about a 7-year process. So that's a perfect biblical number, you know, 7 years. But I bet I called you over 200 times because you said, keep calling. And so I did. I called you in, and I even came up to his guitar shop, bring a little dessert. That didn't hurt. And I'd sit up here. And one time I sat up here, Herb and all, from 12 noon to 12 midnight, and he worked on my guitar. I went home and said, Karen, Wayne's made a huge advancement on my guitar. And she said, no wonder. Said, if you sat there from 12 noon to 12 midnight, anybody wants you out of their hair. So I just take that as a husband and wife bantering. But anyway, I'm so thrilled to have this. And Wayne, I respect many things about you, but I appreciate the way you treat, I'll say, princes and paupers the same. It doesn't matter what, you wait your turn, and here you go. I walked in your shop one day, I don't know if you remember, I don't expect you to, but I was getting really excited about this because you were making some progress. And I walked in, I said, he was working on a guitar, I said, Wayne, is that my guitar? He said, no, this is for Vince Gill. And so I said, oh, I guess I'll just wait my turn then. So I stepped aside, but we finally got it. And Wayne, of course, is meticulous and has such a gift. I call it a God-given gift. He said he didn't listen in the classroom. That's where he learned to whittle. I don't know if that's right or not.
Well, that's somewhat true.
Well, but you were able to carve this mother pearl in such intricate ways. Tell a little bit about making a guitar, if you would.
Well, that one, you know, I was excited to, because EC, you know, is my hero, and then this old guitar here looked exactly like that when I knew it, when EC had it. And that was a project I would certainly be interested in doing and excited about. And to make a guitar that was just like my guitar hero, you know.
Except that left-handed southpaw.
Oh yeah, it was left-handed. The only bad thing about that, it made it so I couldn't play it. You know, I couldn't even test it good. You know? And but you know, I had done that inlay in EC's original guitar. That ECB was the first like commercial inlay that I ever did, like for somebody else. You know, and EC asked me to put those initials in there. That was the biggest deal I could ever imagine. And probably did it with a pocket knife. I didn't have any routers or nothing to do it with. And I had this guitar to look at and to try to match the stain and see it's pretty much the same color. And
pretty good job, yeah.
Got all that. And there's a picture on the wall in here of EC and Orna and holding that guitar and the original fingerboard that came off of this one. And it looks just like that. And so that was an exciting project, and I had this one to measure and to go by, and so it was just set up left-handed so Michael could play it, and very few people come in that play left-handed. A few, you know, and I've made maybe ever 3 of them out of my 758 guitars. Only about 3 of them have been left-handed, I think.
I think this is 629. I have to look, but I believe it is.
Yeah.
So speaking of this guitar, the original ECs, no, this one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a story, a great story of how you reclaimed it and how you got it, because it was in the family.
Oh yeah, it was. You know, we always admired this guitar. You know, and it was the only good guitar in the community anywhere. And everybody marveled at E C's Martin, you know, and it's made in 1949 by the Martin Company in Pennsylvania, and E C bought it from Alf Pierce's music store in Elizabethton, Tennessee. And I would imagine the serial number of this is a real late 1949, so I bet it was 1950 probably when he bought it over there, because it would probably stayed in the store a little bit. And anyway, he got this guitar and played it, and then he added, you know, inlays to it. And most anybody in the world would have been scared to death to have done any kind of carving, whittling, or anything on a Martin guitar. I would have at that time, you know, but EC made those inlays out of Orna's coat buttons. Had an old coat that had genuine pearl buttons on, which is fairly common back in those days. And he done stuff like that. I think Albert Hash, a local fiddle maker, helped him put that binding on there, and they ordered the binding and stuff from the Martin Company. We used the serial number out of this one. And even years after I started making guitars, we would still send the serial number out of this guitar to order pickguard material or binding and stuff like that you couldn't buy anywhere, you know.
And you memorized that serial number
Oh,
from
yeah.
way back, right?
Yeah,
When you were a little fella?
Yeah, it's 112020, you know. And I've always known that serial number, and we used it a lot to order. I guess Martin thought, boy, they must be hard on that guitar. You know, they're wearing out parts on it all the time to get tuners and all kinds of things.
And the ultimate remembrance of that serial number, you were delivering mail that day?
Yeah.
There's a Lenore store?
Oh, yeah, that's right. And you know, another family member had, you know, when EC passed on, got this guitar. He really wasn't supposed to have it, I don't think, but he convinced Orna, you know, that he needed to keep it for safekeeping, you know. Then after that, it acted like it was his, and then eventually he took it out and sold it. And none of us knew that. Didn't have a clue about it. And a fella came through my shop one day and said he saw E C Ball's guitar in a repair shop in Tennessee. And I couldn't believe that. But I did call and asked, and he said, yeah, it belongs to a store in Lenore, North Carolina. And so that's like probably on Saturday, late Saturday, and Monday I called that guy, and he said, yeah, I've got a guitar like that, and you know, supposedly belonged to somebody like that. He had sent it to John Arnold in Tennessee and had all that stuff taken out of it, and it restored like this back to original condition, so he could sell it better. You know, Martin with added stuff to it like that hurts the value for resale. And so he had it restored back to its normal original condition, and that way he could sell it better. And I told him, Lord, I want to buy that guitar if I can. And I asked him if the serial number is 112020 in it. And he looked and he said, that is the serial number. He said, how in the world did you know that? And I told him, well, I've known that number since I was a little kid. And then I told him to save it. And he said, I've already got it. It's supposed to go to Oregon on approval. And I said, please don't sell that guitar. I said, I want to buy it. And at that time, I worked on the mail route and hadn't had money to buy it, you know. And he put up a fuss, and he was a preacher too. And he said he was running a revival or something. I'm not staying in the store a minute past 5 o'clock. I'd already called my substitute, and he was out of town, gone somewhere. I could not get off the mail route. And I asked him if he'd, stay in after 5, because I couldn't drive to Lenore after I got done my route. And I told him he wouldn't. He said, absolutely not staying in here past 5 o'clock. And I asked him, well, keep it till Tuesday, till tomorrow. And said, I have people don't get papers and all that stuff that comes on Monday. You know, Monday's always a hard day. And if you keep it till Tuesday, I might have a lighter day on the mail route, and I might possibly get there before. And he said, well, I'll do that. But no, he didn't like doing that, because he thought he already had it sold.
You delivered the mail that day and then went down the mountain?
I went around that mail route Tuesday, and I just, like I tell people, I just made sure everybody got some mail, whether it was theirs or not. And, and anyway, they could straighten that out the next day.
Right.
And anyway, I got through in time. I got there about 10 minutes before he closed. Didn't have time to argue with him much or anything, and he had it priced fairly high for a D28 at that time. But anyway, I bought it. Was very glad that I caught it before it went off, till nobody had ever seen or heard tell of it again. And so that way I did get, and that's been probably 25 or 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly that. I need to try to figure that out when it was.
Well, I'm so glad you reclaimed. I know you are. And I wanted to talk a little bit. We've said a lot about EC, but I hadn't said a lot about Orna. And, you know, Orna was a musician and a good singer in her own right. And I remember her playing the accordion, which provided, excuse me, such great harmony with the guitar. And she had that great alto voice that we've already talked about. She seemed to be okay and content being in the shadows and supporting and backing up.
Oh yeah, that would have been her personality.
It was, yeah.
Too, you know.
That's what I perceived.
And she was, her whole family, her dad played fiddle and harmonica and stuff, and that's my grandpa's brother. And that whole family, Elsie and all of them could sing and pick. And Orna had actually played some banjo in her young days.
Okay.
And
yeah, I remember Karen and I had some time singing with Orna and Elsie after EC died. And we'd sing a little bit, and Elsie was with us, and she loved to sing along with us. We loved to have her. Orna had an influence, though. Even though she might have been in the background a bit, we could, as we said earlier, alluded to, she had an impact on the style of music and where they played, apparently. And,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot, probably more than let on like, you know, and everything. And that accordion was a big old heavy instrument.
Yeah.
And the EC, I know, would put it out, hold it up, and she'd put the straps on, like putting the coat on or something. I don't think she could lift it up,
Probably not.
hardly, and put it on herself.
Right, right.
And you know how an accordion works, you know what they look like. They're a bellows thing, and EC called it a bee smoker. Said, Orna, get you bee smoker and let's play one here, you know.
I can hear him say that.
Herb's a beekeeper and knows
Oh,
exactly
yeah.
what a bee smoker is. It works sort of like an accordion, but it's a little thing that you put rags in and smoke the bees
Right.
so they don't get you so bad.
Gotcha.
And anyway, that's what EC called Orna's accordion, called it a bee smoker.
And he did have a good sense of humor. We had that. And, so that's one story. Another one you shared one time about up here at the Rugby store, I believe, where Max brought a shotgun, a particular shotgun.
Oh yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Can you share that?
I do remember that. My brother had bought a shotgun. The end of the barrel where you put the shell in was that big. I'd never seen one like it. And of course, you know, if you got a new shotgun, everybody wants to shoot it, you know. And EC was the boss, everything around there. And he was at the store there and everything, so he was going to shoot it. And and I tried to tell him it had an easy, the thing is, probably the reason he got it is somebody got rid of it, you know, because I'd worked on it a little bit and got it so it didn't just go off when you cocked it, you know. It's a single barrel thing. I told him, be careful, that thing's awful easy on the trigger. And he got that thing loaded, and Tilford Reedy, an old man lived on the hill up there, loafed in the store all the time, was going to throw up an oil can in the air, and EC is going to shoot it. And of course everybody was standing clear, you know, off to the side, and the road bank went right straight up, and Tilford's going to throw the oil can straight up over there, and EC is going to shoot it in the air. You know, we usually could do that pretty good, you know. And he said, he got ready, and EC said, let her go, Tilford. About that time he said that, bam, that thing went off right into the road bank right over there, and it went flipping over backwards.
Oh my goodness, the gun did.
The gun did, flipping end over end and hit behind him in the road. And he wasn't ready, you know, he didn't have hold of it good.
Right.
It's sort of funny, but scary too. You know? And when that thing hit in the road, I figured it destroyed it. You know, it just skinned up a little bit, but it's an old gun anyway. It doesn't matter. He said, "You're gonna get somebody killed with that thing."
Y'all had entertainment downtown Rugby.
Yeah, that was it. That was after he seen it didn't shoot nobody or hurt him, it was funny as all get out, you know.
Yeah.
I can just see that yet, that he getting ready to shoot here, that thing just went flipping end over end and landed behind him over there. And then Tilford Jaw can went up in there unscathed, you know.
Great picture. That's wonderful. Well, so some good memories and good memories with Orna and EC and up at their place on Quillen Ridge. I mean, they were simple, down-to-earth folk and always invited us. I've eaten a few meals there. You'd have some good music with them. And they had $1 million view. Have you been up there? I mean, looking out over Quillen Ridge. It's amazing out over there. So wonderful, wonderful folk. I wonder, Herb, if we could try a song here that you've done. I know I've heard you do before, "Where the Roses Never Fade." Would you be willing?
Well, I don't know. I'm sort of froggy, but maybe we can do it.
I think I've out-frogged you. What key do you do it in? And
I don't know.
Well,
I almost think it's D. We used to.
I think it's D. Where is it at in this book?
well, the lyrics are in there, my friend. You want to share that with me? You can hold it for her. She'll hold them for you.
I'll hold it for you.
And you have to turn the page on it, son. Is Wayne going to do, does he do an instrumental break in this?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, you all know it.
I don't think I've ever played the bass and sung it. We'll try.
I am going to a city where the roses never fade, where the roses never fade.
Okay.
All right, you did real good.
Well, did the best I could.
That was good. Thank you so much. And we're about to wrap it up with a couple more songs if we could. And maybe we'll just keep the song going with, let's try Angel Band. Angel Band.
Okay.
You got a couple.
Kick that one off. I don't know if I can. I'll figure it out during playing it.
Okay. That'll be cool. We'll do a couple breaks in there.
Okay.
All right. Got a G going. You want to sing this one? You want to lead?
No, I don't think so.
No? Okay.
You go ahead.
All right. My latest sun is sinking fast. My race is nearly run. My strongest trials now are past. My triumph has begun. Oh, come, angel band, come and around me stand. Oh, bear me away on your snow white wings to God's immortal home. Oh, bear me away on your snowy wings to my immortal home. Oh, come, angel band, come and around me stand. Oh, bear me away on your snowy wings to my immortal home. Oh, bear me away on your snowy wings to my immortal home. Take us one more, Lee. Oh, come, angel band, come and around me stand. Oh, bear me away on your snowy wings to my immortal home. Oh, bear me away on your snowy wings to my immortal home. Well, I tell you, this has been on my bucket list, and I thank y'all for doing this.
Well, this is a pretty cool thing.
Well,
I thought we was going to have to record and get every note perfect, you know.
I like this informal. Thank you, Bob, and thank you, Herb, and thank you, Wayne.
His sound, I guess, is okay in there. It picks up stuff.
Yeah. So we got one more song to do before we leave, and unless there's something else we need to share, and particularly about E C and Orna, if there's anything to think about. But I think we've covered a lot. But
I want to share about going
Oh, yeah.
to see Orna
Yeah.
and eating biscuits there and having to use the outhouse in King. The dog guard was tied to the outhouse, and King did not like you if you didn't know him.
Did like a stranger out
Didn't
there.
like a stranger out there. But those were the best biscuits, so it was worth it. It was great. She's a great cook.
She was.
Yeah, I heard that. I never did get to eat there, but I heard.
She was a
I ate a
great
biscuit for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did too.
So this being a season of the wise men, the magi, and the word of God going out to all the world, we just pray a blessed new year to all of you, and thought we'd go out with that in mind with Beautiful Star of Bethlehem. So, Wayne, what do you think about this?
Well,
you
that's
catch up in the middle
I'll
somewhere?
have to catch up in the middle of this one too.
That'll be all right, you know, wherever. All right, D, everybody? Oh, beautiful star of Bethlehem, shining afar through shadows dim, giving a light for those who long have gone, and guiding the wise men on their way unto the place where Jesus lay. Beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. Oh, beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine upon us until the glory dawn. Oh, give us the light to light the way into the land of perfect day. Beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. Don't take a seat. So we hope and pray that the memories and the music of E C and Orna will live on in our hearts and lives. So be blessed. Thank you.
A little bit of this one right here.